30 projections in 30 days going into the 2024 regular season for the New York Mets as we continue our month-long deep dive into the Mets 40-man roster. Today we are talking about Jake Diekman. After a horrendous 11.1 innings with the White Sox in 2023, the Rays claimed Diekman on waivers and worked their trademark magic. Since then, across 45.1 innings pitched, Diekman posted a 2.18 earned run average, a 3.21 fielding independent pitching, striking out 28.6% of batters. Diekman made it public about changing his windup to improve his patented walk issue and manage to get more chases and whiffs while in Tampa. Diekman is a hard-throwing, side-slinging lefty with a high 90s running four-seam sinker combo that tops 98, a sweeping action slider with RPMs over 2,800, a gyro action cutter, and a side-spinning changeup. As one of the most persistent left-handed relievers in baseball over the last decade, Diekman will be entering a 37-year-old season in Queens after signing a one-year, $4 million contract, which includes a $4 million vesting option for 2025.
Ever since I think Franklin was about 29 years old in life, I've wanted him on the Mets. I've been screaming, hollering, charging, rhinoing for Jake Diekman to be a New York Met, and it finally happened at age 37. A little older than I wanted, but could be a similar situation. I said it last year about Brooks Raley. He will have a better year than Aaron Loop's good year because he's, again, another guy coming from the Tampa Bay Rays and being fixed and altered his delivery. He brought the velocity back. Again, the walks are going to be a problem. He will not be having to be in high leverage. He could be a low leverage to medium leverage guy and be perfectly fine throwing that funky 98-mile-an-hour sink piece.
When it comes to Diekman, like I say, he's someone we've wanted on the Mets for a long time because we've been wanting that second lefty because we thought it'd be a very nice addition to the team. And he was awesome once he got to Tampa Bay. And really, the big thing was cutting down the walks. I mean, in Chicago, he had a ridiculous 10.3 walks per nine. Like, that should be almost impossible. Like, can you imagine pitching 9 innings and seeing a guy walk 10 guys? That's just, I mean, that would be actual torture to Carson if you had to sit there tied up and watch that. I mean, that is just insane. He comes to Tampa Bay. They do their typical Tampa Bay thing, work the magic, and he turns out to be a really good reliever again. So I love that the Mets are picking him up. Really reasonable contract, 1 year, not a lot of money. Coming off of some awesome work they did in Tampa Bay, just following up that success. You got David Stearns up top looking over. So it's just an all-around solid move. And again, like we've been talking about all the relievers, doesn't have a big role on this team. So since he's going to be utilized in such a kind of medium leverage role, I mean, you do expect pretty good things out of him because, they're not asking a lot out of him this season.
I think me and Andrew have been talking about getting Jake Diekman, I'd say, for quite a few years now, mainly just because the Mets, one, they've needed a lefty reliever for a long time, and also they have needed velocity. They have needed strikeouts from the left side as well. Right now, you have him paired up with Brooks Raley, where Raley can give you some soft contact. He can give you some soft tossing from the left side from a different arm slot. And then you also have Jake Diekman, who just throws absolute gas from the left side as well. So you have a lot of different situations where first-year manager, such as Carlos Mendoza, has a lot of options to pick just from the left side and out of this entire bullpen, which is, again, very deep as compared to what they've had in the past. I like this signing a lot. Obviously, he's a little bit older for my preference of what I want in the bullpen, but he's not going to have as much of a workload, just like pretty much anybody else in this bullpen with how deep it is. So I'm excited to see what Jake Diekman can do. I just want to let everybody know that projections are not predictions. They are benchmarks for a player's current specific percentile outcome based on predictive data and results. For my projections, I decided to use, in my opinion, each player's 75th percentile outcome. Although a majority of player projections are constructed at a player's 50th percentile outcome, I personally wanted to use a median between sustainability and upside. It also gives you a decent look at who I am high on and who I am low on going into the season. As for Jake Diekman, 55 innings for the Mets this year, striking out 27.3% of batters, walking 13.3%, a 3.76 earned run average, a 4.18 fielding independent pitching, 1.1 home runs per 9, a 0.3 wins above replacement.
As long as he's not walking the ballpark, like we said, we know he has the stuff to be really effective. So I think, again, with the role he's going to be used, I expect him to have a pretty good year. Not quite as good as he was with Tampa, but definitely not as bad as he was in Chicago. I think you're looking at something like more in between there. So, I mean, for me, I expect pretty good things out of him, but, nothing out of the ordinary, nothing ridiculous. He shouldn't have to, for the kind of role that they're asking him to do.
If you're getting what his totality of his 2023 stat line, with under 3.5 ERA, that's 60 inning mark, getting over strikeout at least every inning. The walks are always going to be a problem. Just, keep them to a substantial amount. Don't go nuts. We know he can be productive and he's going to be in a smaller role. So you would expect the results to be better. It's in smaller sample sizes.
It's just all going to be what the situation he is going to be put in, because obviously if you do put him in a situation where there's a lot of runners on, maybe he does fold at one point because of the walk issue, of course. We do have a lot of high leverage experience, and a lot of that starts with a pitcher like Jake Diekman, and, it's just a different look, of course, like we've talked about, velocity from the left side, which the Mets really have not had ever. It's a breath of fresh air. I think that is definitely going to work well, and I think that he's going to be plugged into a decent role, and he's going to contribute fairly well to this bullpen, giving you a solid campaign all around. You may have a little bit of concern with the age, of course, and the velocity and whatever, but it does not seem like he is slowing down at any time soon. Just another piece to this bullpen that we expect to deliver on the upside and the stuff that he has to help us get over the edge and hopefully out of some tight situations in high leverage. It's a really good addition for 1 year, $4 million. Very solid ad by David Stearns and company.